Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored to be here to bring to you this panel. And I know no introductions are needed, and I don't have time because I would fill the entire time, but at least let me say, welcome Hillary Scott.
Thank you. Hi.
Carly Pearce. Lily Rose. Madeline Edwards. So I'm going to jump right in because we only have 40 minutes and you have so much to say. So as we all know, there's been so much conversation over the last few years about the statistics surrounding the lack of female representation in country music. So today we want to talk about what it's like to be, or to talk about from your perspective, what it's like in 2023 from for you all. I got a little tongue-tied there. First, I want to talk about what's going on with each of you personally. What do you have coming up? Hillary, what do you have that we can be excited about?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you for having me. So we are out on tour right now. We're on the Request Line tour. I would have to say that's the thing that I'm the most excited about. We've also been recording new music that'll be out hopefully before the end of the year. But the tour itself is a tour that we have dreamed of doing but have not had the chance to until now. And it's in theaters and smaller rooms. We're doing some outdoor kind of amphitheaters too, but they're just smaller. It's a lot more intimate. And we send out messages. We have a phone number you can call and leave us voicemails. Like the whole show is built off of requests from all of you. And so it becomes this really special, intimate experience, and every single night is different. So that would be what I'm the most excited about right now. Okay. And the music.
Hi. I announced this week that I have a new single coming out.
With who? I think you've got a duet or a collaboration with someone that we've heard of.
I mean, obviously I love collaborations. I feel like I've had a lot of them, but for me, my musical dream collaboration has always been Chris Stapleton. And so it's Chris Stapleton. So I'm very excited.
Come on. What's the name of the song?
It's called We Don't Fight Anymore. It comes out June 16th. So that's what I'm excited about. That's it.
I guess so. That's Lily Rose?
Hey, y'all. Speaking of collaborations, I've never gotten to collaborate with anyone in my professional career, but I just did with a guy named Diplo. And it's a killer song. We're doing a lot of really cool things. And then this summer I'm going out on tour with Sam Hunt, followed by being on the Shania Twain tour. So lots to be excited about right now. Feeling grateful.
Madeline?
I am also currently on tour right now. I just released my first debut record last year called Crash Landed. And I am touring a bunch of festivals right now. I'm doing some that I've never done before. I just did Stagecoach. I am doing Lollapalooza this year. I'm going back overseas to do my first headline show in London in a few weeks, which is really exciting. And I'm just getting into recording and writing for the next record as well. So yeah, it's exciting.
Madeline on Monday night performed before on the same stage as Trisha Yearwood and Mickey Guyton, standing right there looking at her, and she nailed it with my favorite song, Wolves. Yeah. Or is that the full title of it?
Yeah, it's called The Wolves, and I was I have the privilege of honoring Leslie Fram, who is the head of CMT here, and I was able to honor her by singing one of my songs for her, and Trisha Yearwood and Mickey Guyton were also there, so it was a really fun start to the week.
Good. All right, let's just jump right in. What's the environment like for women in country today? What gives you hope, and where would you still like to see change? And whoever wants to jump in first.
I think it's a wonderful time to be a female in country music. I came onto the scene in 2016, I guess, with my first single, and it was really sparse then for females. I feel like there just weren't that many females. For a lot of time, I feel like Hillary was kind of holding it down, but she was still, with the guys. But she was one of the only female voices. Kelsey, maybe at the time, Maddie and Tay. But to see the way that the pendulum has started to swing so hard, and you see so many different types of artists. I always said, I think we need to focus more on the quality of music and the artistry, then we need to focus on it. I think it'll switch when we start to do that. And I just feel like, I mean, you see it with these women up here, you see it with Lainey Wilson, you see it with so many females. Megan Moroney's another one that I think is just making killer music. And just to see what it's done in the last 7 years kind of blows my mind. I think it's a great time.
I would say the thing that brings me hope, even just since we got here today, is how we're engaging with one another and how we talk about each other, and how there's this real, authentic support that I'm starting to really feel that I've felt. I think country music, on the whole, has always been kind, and the artists have always, been kind, but I love watching women champion other women. And I think that the more we can do that, the more that we can show up for one another in the big ways, yes, but especially in the small ways, in the conversations about life, because there's not very many people who understand me better than these women on the stage because of the lives that we live and what life looks like for us. And so I think for me, the hope is sensing a real genuine want to connect on all things music, but even just relating with one another as women in music. So that would be the thing that I'm hopeful and excited about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. To piggyback off of what y'all both said, it's going to be very hard for us to not mention Leslie Fram a zillion times in this conversation, but Leslie is at CMT and started this Next Women of Country class, and they celebrated the 10th year anniversary this year. And we've all grown up in a society in, entertainment and movies and TV especially, that women are kind of pitted against each other and the Mean Girls thing. And at the 10th year anniversary this year, they had almost every single woman from the 10 classes. And you just look around, there was like 110 female artists that are all just sitting there, camaraderie's through the roof, vibes are high. And that's just not what society's taught us to do. And it's really cool that we all have each other's backs. And music is not sports. There's so much room in your heart, and you can like so many people. And it's really cool. So Leslie, thank you for that.
Yes.
I don't know if she's even here right now, but we love her so much. I think it gives me a lot of hope even having conversations like this, where we get to be vulnerable and talk about the things that are potentially not progressing and what we can do to make them stronger and more hopeful for us moving forward. And I think the vulnerability will come with just asking questions. I think people are always afraid to ask questions and be vulnerable in terms of, how do we get more women on radio, or how do we, create more opportunities for younger women and for women as a whole to have the same opportunities that men have in this industry. And I think it's because of conversations like this. I think you've obviously, invited a very amazing and diverse group of women to even be talking about this today. So I think these are the kind of conversations that are going to move things forward. So it's really exciting.
So Hillary, you began your career
Long time.
and had huge success before the issues of women in country music really gained, part of the conversation. What was it like for you then compared to now? And what has that change been like for you?
Yeah, I feel like I have a really interesting experience because I'm in a trio with two men. So, and my mom being an artist in Nashville, I watched her. And so there was never this thought in my head that I couldn't do it because I watched my mom do it. And my mom has had several hurdles and, has overcome a whole lot, and her career has been incredible, and it's taken its own journey. So there was this, I think, naive confidence that I had, but then also being in a trio with two men, I've always felt my voice and my creative input and output was important. So it hasn't been until as I've gotten older, I think, and learned more and talked to my friends, other solo female artists, to where, and then you just are surveying radio, where you just start to see how difficult it can be. And but I would say for me, I remember feeling like, kind of to Carly's point, that there weren't a ton of female voices, and being really honored that I got to be one of them, and I'm one of those. But I felt very supported by my bandmates, and I think that is, they can really teach a lot of us to just continue to have that supportive posture, because it's only going to make this genre flourish more when we champion other women, and when the men step up and really champion them as well.
So people in the industry began having conversations in 2014, 2015 about the lack of female representation. And then Keith Hill, who's a radio consultant, told Country Radio Air Check, which is an industry publication, that he wouldn't advise playing a lot of women. Don't play two women's songs back to back. And he said, men are the lettuce of the format and women are the tomato. So that's been known as Tomatogate on Music Row. So for those of you who came to country music after 2015 or around that time, what was your perspective coming into country? What were you anticipating? And then what did you find once you arrived?
For me, I feel like I'm so grateful to be up here with these women and with all of my peers in town. But for me, I feel like I have a very, very different journey just because of my sexual orientation. I present just a lot more masculine than most of the women here. So I always kind of felt like I leaned more towards the guys sonically and everything, and knew that I wasn't going to have the judgment or the hurdle of looking or sounding like everybody else. But there are more hurdles that come with that's for sure. And so for me, it was 2015 when I was about to move to Nashville. And, the three women that you heard were the only three women that were selling out arenas, which was Hillary with Lady A, Miranda, and Carrie. And there wasn't really a middle class until we started getting the Maren, Kelsey, Carly, Ashley of like, nope, we're going to break through on this and we're going to fight tooth and nail until you play our records. And I think that's one of the things that really broke it open, was creating kind of a middle class of like, just because you can't sell out an arena doesn't mean you shouldn't be played. It's phenomenal music. So that was kind of my first experience with it.
I kind of feel like if that's the case, what he said, if he truly believes that, which I don't know if he just woke up one day and thought this would be a smart thing to say or not, but I feel like if country music is supposed to be explaining the tapestry of the American story, or if it's supposed to be explaining the tapestry of all of our stories, then the female story is such an important piece of that. And it's really cool that we have Lily, who does make, a male-centric, whether that's sonically with the writing or whatever. I feel like my music has always been a little bit more male-oriented as well, just sonically. And with my writing, I'm very heavily influenced by soul and rock as well. But if we're not using that to tell all of the stories in this format, then I feel like you're missing the point of country music altogether.
I just don't see, when we're in a fan environment, people go crazier than they do for the women who walk out in the room. The way that I hear at award shows, the way they go nuts for Carly. And you see Ashley McBryde walk out there and it's like, oh my gosh. So he was wrong.
So just to give you all one example of what we're talking about is last week, Dr. Jada Watson and Jan Deem released a study that found that songs by female artists are played back-to-back on country radio less than 1% of the time. That means you have 3 songs by female compared to 245 songs by men in a 24-hour period. So talk about processing that news. So in 2023, that's the playing field. How does that make you feel? And how do you keep yourself motivated in a sometimes difficult environment?
Yeah, that is a staggering statistic. I think, it's hitting me hard. I think the thing is that we can't let it discourage us. And I think that I know very little about so much of the statistics and the research that goes into a lot of the decisions that these gatekeepers make. But I do have to think that they might feel a little stuck sometimes themselves, that doesn't mean that you don't do the right thing and open these doors wide open. But I think, so I have some empathy for that. And I also just truthfully pray for really brave, song-loving people to get these positions who are willing to take some risks and to open these doors and allow statistics like that to become very old news and not right now.
When I think all of us up here and any female in country music, I'm sure we get flooded with DMs, we get flooded with messages, we get people coming to our shows, making signs, feeling understood by our music, because like she said, the perspective of the woman has to be told. And I always, when I would hear things like women don't want to hear women on the radio, I would always say, I challenge you to come to any one of our shows and see the human connection as truly feeling like you're looking out at your girlfriends. And I think they're starved for that. I think women want to feel like they can relate. I'm sure they want to also listen to whatever male perspective. You know, I love so many of the male artists, but it's like, in order to really have that human connection, you have to feel like somebody's writing from like the personal sense of what you're going through in your life.
Couldn't agree more.
Madeline, the statistics, unfortunately, are much worse for women of color in country music. Dr. Watson found that only 0.03 or 0.03% of songs played on country radio last year were created by Black females. Fortunately, we are hearing from several Black females who are getting signed to labels, who are getting their music played, getting some exposure. Do you feel like things are changing? And again, how do you keep yourself positive in this moment?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I was having a conversation the other day with another fellow artist. Her name's Camille Parker. She's a Black artist, and she's incredible. We were hanging out in my backyard having a beer, and we were talking about this. And she said something that I'll probably never forget. And she said, we're in such an interesting time in terms of everything during the BLM movement, everything post George Floyd, with there being a particular spotlight on country music to start really representing people who are minorities and people who are underrepresented in this space. And so she said, in this particular time, it's not about being the top. It's not about getting on the radio. It's just about getting your name on the board. Because everyone, I don't care if it's Brittany Spencer, I don't care if it's me, I don't care if it's Tiara Kennedy or whoever, we're in this movement right now where even if we make it number 40 on the radio charts, that's higher than most people have been able to do at this point, especially as a Black female. There's a lot of other resources other than just radio. It gives me a lot of encouragement to know that we have streaming services now, and we have sync opportunities, and we have things like Billboard, and y'all are the largest publication in music in the world, and we have these opportunities to have conversations like this and getting to ask people like me to come up and speak on it. And so I feel like right now it's about not being number one and not thinking that you're going to be number one. Before I signed my deal with Warner a few months ago, I asked them, I walked in, are you signing me because this is a check mark or a check box on your social conscience and you just need to sign a Black female right now? Or do you actually believe in me, or do you believe in my music? And it's good to ask those kinds of questions. It's good to wrestle with those kinds of things, because I truly believe that Warner and Chris Lacey and Ben have my best interests at heart. And I really do believe that it's not about just filling a quota. I think it really is about my music at the end of the day. And so I think that gives me a lot of encouragement. It gives me a lot of encouragement to see all of these young Black females. There's Indonesian country. We see a Native American country coming into play. Charlie Lowry is an artist. She's staying in my home right now for CMA Fest. And it's amazing to see not just Black women, but everyone kind of rising, because when we all rise, we're all going to win. It's not just one. If one person wins, we all win. So,
Carla, you mentioned, oh, go ahead. Please. Awesome. Carla, you mentioned that female artists are the storytellers and interpreters of women's lives. So tell us what you hear from your fans, whether it's backstage or they send you a direct message. Talk about what you mean to them. And then also, you all talk about the responsibility that comes with being an influential role model.
Oh, gosh. I mean, you have to be willing to put your heart on the line. You have to be willing to be transparent, whether that's positive or negative at the time in your life, whether you really understand that or not. You have a decision to make. And I think all of these women up here, I speak for all of us, that I think we're all pretty transparent in the way that we live our lives. But you're living it in front of a lens that kind of allows people to judge you whether you want that or not, which can be hard at times. But, you know, I feel like over the last few years, I've probably been tested in those moments more than I ever have in my entire life. But even in those hard moments, I see the good that has come from my story and the choice that I made to be vulnerable and to be honest and not be afraid, maybe especially, you know, in country music in the South, the things that maybe I've talked about in the last few years in my music, a lot of people keep that hushed because it's not what society tells us is, you know, the American dream, or you stay in situations that aren't serving you anymore because you're supposed to. That's what Jesus tells you to do. And I think for me, what has literally pulled me through my journey was being honest and having fans go, you helped me leave this marriage. You made me feel like divorce doesn't have to be the thing that I go down with, or I needed to feel like it was okay to be young and going through such and such. I mean, what fans don't know is they hold us up as we write these stories to make sense of our own lives. And it's been a really powerful thing that I think, even with other female artists, I feel like they've been vulnerable with me of sharing pieces of their story. And I've had real human connections with people like Karen Fairchild or Gwen Stefani who have been like, I feel you. Let me pour into you and tell you that you're not alone. And you're like, what? You know, we have so many of the same things that go on in our lives, even if our stories aren't exactly the same. And we have to be willing to put that out there for people.
What are some things you've heard from your fans about how that your music connects with them and captures their own life stories?
Yeah, for me, it's been a really cool and interesting thing being out on the road. To be a woman and telling stories, or just be anybody in country music telling stories. Your songs are connecting with people as you write them from a very personal experience, or you're telling a story or whatever it is that are helping people get through their day. It's a little bit heavier, I think, in my experience for me, because no one has ever looked like me in country music before, and no one has gotten to tell these stories. So the thing that I'm getting the most is just like, thank you for doing this for us. We've been waiting, you know, whether it's like a 70-year-old couple that comes up, they're like, we've been waiting, and all this. And I always, it is a lot of weight, because it's like every single song that we're cutting and putting out, I'm like, are we doing the right thing for me first, and then for the LGBTQ community, and then just country music in general? And I've had to stop thinking, because it can be kind of heavy, but it makes up for it every single time, because my whole goal is for people to just not be afraid to be exactly who they are anymore. And it makes up for it every time when, like, a mom or a dad, it's hard not to cry when you say this, but like when a mom or a dad comes up with their 13 or 14-year-old and they say, because of you, they decided to tell me who they really are. And it's like, yo, I wish I had that. So it's really dope. And the fans are the most important thing. And I remind them often that I might be the face of this for country music, but you bought the ticket today and you're doing this for the LGBTQ community in country music. So it's cool. Shucks. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, you brought up The Wolves earlier. It has been a song that's just outperformed anything I thought it would do, and I'm so proud of it. And I get, messages from women all the time that have just gone through radiation. They said this song was the thing that got me through. Or, even if it's just a mom and it's like, I haven't worked out in the last 2 years and I put your song on and I felt really encouraged to work out today. I'm like, girl, me too. I haven't worked out in like 6 months. Let's put this on together. Let's do this workout together. It's just encouraging, like seeing it affect their little day-to-day parts of their lives. And whether it's a workout or whether it's, I decided that, I'm leaving my husband today because he doesn't treat me the way I should, or the way I should be treated, or, it's small little things and it's big things too. And you see the music impacting every aspect, and it's really encouraging for sure.
One thing I've been so inspired about is how many female artists have supported other female artists. So if you look at legends like Reba McEntire, Miranda Lambert, Martina McBride, they've all taken out all-female opening acts. There's a whole community in Nashville of 20-something female singer-songwriters who are supporting each other. What has that meant to you? And then how are you all supporting other female artists? Hillary, we'll start with you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a bit of a theme that we've kind of been circling around this whole time together, which is you could really apply this to just life in general, which is be who you didn't have. I think about that as a parent. I think about that as a woman in country music. I think about that, just show up and be for whoever you're in front of, whether it's thousands or whether it's one who you wish you'd had. And I think that's what comes up for me as you say that, is just to be that, because that's what you wished you'd had. And so, yeah.
And let me jump in and say, Hillary has created 4 scholarships for female singers or songwriters at Middle Tennessee State University. So she's passing it forward.
Thank you. And I think
for the rest of you, what has it meant to see the icons support women, and then the new artists supporting other new artists? How has that strengthened you all?
Yeah, I mean, I get to go out on tour with Shania Twain this year. When they told me, I was like, is she sure? Because I'm pretty sure that's not real. I'm pretty sure that's not real. But, there are just so many incredible women who walked so we can all run right now. So eventually down the line, generations beyond this are just sprinting. And it's just really cool to be a part of the community and to finally get to see that help the next one in line thing. And like Hillary was just saying and does so well of, paying it forward to the next little artist that's come along.
I have to tell a story about Hillary. And just when she said that, it almost made me cry, because I thought about this particular story and how it's changed the trajectory of how I treat the next one. I was touring with Lady A back, I guess, in 2018 or 19 when we were at C2C. Yes. Oh, yeah. I had one single out, or maybe 2. And when you travel overseas, it is not glamorous. I think all of us know. You have to take these like ferries through the night, and it's tough. And she did not even have to speak to me, but she came in and she was like, "What are you doing? How are you getting over to Ireland or somewhere?" And I said, "Oh, I'm like going on the ferry." And she's like, "No, you're not. You're going with us." And she knew as a female how hard it was to travel in those kind of circumstances. And she let me ride on her plane, and she bought me a hotel room at her hotel, not like down the street. I was like, I'm in such a nice hotel. And just has since then poured into me. We are dear friends outside of this. She's somebody that I go to a lot. But that generosity of just, she needed nothing from me but the goodness of her heart. And it has shown me just true kindness and humility of, like, you want to hope that your heroes and the people that influence you. I mean, I've told her this. I remember listening to the first Lady A record, eating Arby's when I was working at Dollywood. Like, I was so excited. Truly. So I was a fan before. And just to meet somebody that has influenced you so much and for them to exceed your expectations, it pushes me to make sure that somebody one day will say that about me. And
Madeline, we should certainly mention Reese Palmer and Mickey Guyton, who have been so generous to so many. Have they given you advice?
Reese Palmer, for sure. Reese Palmer is one of my mentors, and I have so much respect for her. I would say her and Morgan Stapleton were probably the first people when I came to Nashville that like really took me under their wing and showed me the ropes.
So Garth Brooks, who's had a front row seat to how women are treated in country music, that's because he's married to Trisha Yearwood, if you didn't know. He says women have to work 10,000 times as hard to get half as much. So what's your reaction to that?
That's biology.
It's not just women in music either. It's women all over the world. We have
Right,
to work
right.
twice as hard.
You were like, yeah, it's just Wednesday.
Well, and add motherhood to that. And you're
Right?
like, yep, that's real true.
I feel silly answering some of this with two legends on the couch sitting in front of us because I've been going at it for a long time, but I'm new on Music Row. And the only thing that I can say is it is very hard. Like that stat is probably not wrong, or the quote is probably not incorrect. But I think the best thing you can do is just surround yourself with an incredible team that doesn't really let you think about that. And they believe in you so much that they're like, you're going to defy those odds. And it's going to be amazing. And if you have a partner at home, and just surrounding yourself with people that don't let you believe that.
What advice do you have for young female artists? Madeline, we'll start with you.
Ooh, young female artists, write and play as much as you can. I don't care if it's in a retirement home or in church or, on the side of a street somewhere. Like, play and write as much as you can, because it will continue to make you a better artist. It'll continue to make you a better writer. It will just continue to put you in positions in front of the right people always. Before I moved to Nashville 2 years ago, again, I'm new to Music Row as well, but I'm not new to music. I've been doing this for a pretty long time. I was in Houston, Texas doing music for a really long time, and I would play anywhere. And trust me, it was not glamorous. I would play in steakhouses and, for bars and sports bars where people did not give a crap about me playing in there. But it makes you a better artist. And honestly, the mistakes that I got to make at a sports bar when no one was watching were the mistakes I got to get paid to make. And then when I get to go on to these tours like I am this year, I don't get to make those mistakes as much because I got all that out when I was practicing at a sports bar. So that's the advice I would have for young female artists for sure.
Yeah.
Did you cover a lot of Lady A too? Because I covered so
did.
much Lady A.
How did you know?
All of the bars, dude.
Tons of
Downtown
Lady
is the
A.
one I hear a lot. Anytime you're in a downtown city, you're like, we sang downtown. I think, first of all, I absolutely love everything both of you are saying. It is, I just want y'all to keep talking. Don't stop talking. And to really kind of come alongside what they've shared is do something towards your dream or your goal every day. And sometimes that's just sitting and listening to music that you love to get inspired because you feel like you've hit a block, But I think doing something towards your goal every day. And I would also say make decisions that you're going to be proud that you made years from now. And I think that what we're doing here, what we're representing here is just cultivating community and mutual respect. And I think I know goodness comes when you treat people like you want to be treated. And it doesn't always equal how the world defines success, but I think it will lead to happiness. And so I think those two things would be my encouragement. Yeah.
All right, so let's end on a positive note after we give Hillary a round of applause. I just want to cry every time she talks, right? So as we wrap up, tell us about the things that give you hope. Are there changes in the industry that excite you? Is there new music that excites you, new artists? Tell me, what makes you look forward to tomorrow?
There's a lot of new music I've been listening to recently, and it's Brandy Clark's new album, and it's Jordan Shellhart's album. And to women that the way that they craft a song, those records are just blowing my mind right now. I also have a lot of hope watching all of the touring that women are doing right now. We kind of already touched on that, but that's something that brings me a lot of hope. And I think the biggest piece of it is just feeling what it feels like to be in a room with other women who do what we do, who respect and honor one another. And I think that those three things, the new music, the incredible songwriting by those two artists and a lot of other female artists, and then also the touring and the love we share for one another. Yeah.
I think what gives me hope is just the diversity that's going on right now. And we're all coexisting and posting and championing each other and asking each other to come out on the road and hang out. And there's just such an eclectic season of really, music that you hear a song and you're like, gosh, why didn't I think of that? Like, I feel that as a writer about so much of the new female music that's coming out. And honestly, to see what you're doing is just, I grew up with a sister who just had a really hard time. And I think she just grew up in a season that she was scared. And just to watch you be so, you already know, I jumped out of a car, rolled my window down at the CMT Awards and was like, Lily, I love you. But I genuinely,
and Lily said, security.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we were waiting for a bike because they wouldn't give us a car. So we were waiting on a bike. So
it's just, I think women are being brave. And I think that I look at Hillary's little girls and I want them to be able to feel like they can be brave. I don't know that as a kid, or this is gonna make me cry, but when I first moved here, this town told me I couldn't be me. And I heard no for so many years. I moved here in 2009 and it was, you're not enough. And I believed it. And I feel in the last just few years, I don't care. And I just want the next generation to have the hope to be brave and be them, because you can, because look.
absolutely. I'm really excited about where Music Row is right now. I think that Music Row in Nashville as a city and as an industry town is actually a great representation of what the rest of the world is like. I think that maybe 0.1% of people get to make their opinions so loud on the internet. And whether it's hate or it is just not even factual things, like no one wants to listen to women on the radio. We are watching teams of men and women at labels, management companies, agencies working their tails off for their female clients or their gay clients or their black clients and their male clients. And I just think that's how the world is. And there's just really loud, small percent of a-holes that get to dictate what's happening. So I think Music Row has come a long way and is moving in the right direction.
I'm really excited about just the trajectory of myself and my peers, because I feel like a lot of people ask, what's it like being a black woman in country? What's it like being a black woman in country? And I don't have the sob story that they want. I moved to Nashville 2 years ago and immediately was on the CMA Awards, and my first tour ever was with Chris Stapleton, and I got signed to Warner a year and a half ago, so I don't have the sob story that they want. However, I would not be able to have this trajectory. Tiara Kennedy would not be able to have this trajectory. Brittany Spencer, everyone I just named, if it weren't for the people behind the scenes. And when the cameras are off, the women that are really doing the work are like Reese Palmer, Miko Marks, Linda Martell, the Pointer Sisters. The list goes on of these women that had to go through so much in order for me to be like, man, I don't have a hard story of how I got here. This was a very privileged ride for me. And so it's really cool getting to see the behind the scenes camaraderie that the women are having. Like, I have so much respect for Lily. I think she is such an incredible woman. Like before I played on the CMT Awards with Alanis, I remember I was so scared. I was shaking in my boots. I was terrified. And she was one of the few artists that came to me in my seat and was like, "You're gonna fucking kill it. Like you're gonna do great." And there is a true, like, authentic way that women are just being treated behind the stage. And I really have a lot of hope in that and things being off camera as much as they are on camera. And you're getting to see that a lot more now. And so it's really exciting for sure.
Thanks for the kind words.
Well, help me thank our panelists, Madeline Edwards, Lily Rose, Carly Pearce, Hillary Scott. And I think on behalf of all of us, if I may speak on behalf of all of you, we wish you all a wonderful CMA Music Fest week. Thanks.